Just over 2 years ago, my husband and I bought a run-down stone cottage on 4 acres of land in the hills of eastern Spain. And since then, we've been working on making the cottage somewhat livable, growing our own food, and figuring out how to make this lifestyle of living rurally, off the grid, work practically and financially. Coming up to our second winter in the house, we had a pretty major issue we needed to tackle, on top of the uninsulated doors which don't close properly, the leaky roof and chimney, and the lack of space. Since we both need a place to work comfortably on our laptops, especially Mauro, who works full-time remotely, we needed some sort of an office. We'd already cleaned this little corridor space, which was basically the only area available in the house, and put a simple table and chair in there, but it wasn't really good enough. It was just an uninspiring, uncomfortable, and worst of all extremely drafty place which was just not nice to be in. So I decided to build my husband the office of his dreams. I worked on this project on and off all winter, so the office and this video have been a long time in the making, but we're finally done and I'm really excited to show you the entire process from the very beginning. Although I had gained a bit of confidence building a storeroom and a bathroom, I'm definitely not sure what I'm doing at all when it comes to renovation or anything like that, so I started this project with the easiest part, which was adding some shelves.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away. I'll paint with colors and
After constructing the shelves and sanding them all down, I stained them with a dark wood stain, which I think gave them a nice finish and made them look like actual shelves, and less like mismatched pieces of old pallets, which is what they actually were.
windows open so that I can hear the sound of people talking and the wind blowing in the trees.
You can see how much more easily the stain goes on the front wood, which I've sanded, than the back piece, which I didn't sand because I couldn't fit the sander in these little gaps, and it soaks up a lot more of the wood stain. So how high do you want the screen to go?
Potentially a bit higher than that, right?
Roughly. After marking out where we wanted the shelves to go, I attached all the brackets, which were actually one of the most expensive parts of the entire office, if you can believe it, and we got to work fixing the shelves to the wall.
Let's go a bit.
I'm leaving a little gap at the edge when we put these brackets on, because when it goes against the wall we want it to have a little gap there, so that when you dust it you can dust the dust to the back and the dust doesn't get like stuck in the crease between the wall and the shelves. Just a nice little touch.
And also for putting cables.
For wires and things, if you want wires. We're already enjoying using these shelves here to put things on. Very handy, very handy.
We're so starved for storage space that
It's basically the only shelf we have.
you can see that any free surface gets colonized by stuff immediately.
Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go away.
It's done.
Great job!
Let the sunshine in the day.
Once the shelves were up, Mauro could finally start organising some stuff he'd had in storage since we moved in, and I moved on to the next part of the project, making some curtains. As I've said, we're very short on space in our tiny cottage, and one thing we definitely don't have was a big table where I could spread out the many meters of fabric I needed to measure and cut for these curtains. The only space I had was the bed, which isn't an ideal surface to work on, but somehow I made it work. The general idea of curtains is very simple. You need them to be between 2 and 3 times the width of the window, so you get that nice bunched up look when they're closed, and then you attach a strip of curtain tape to the top to hang the hooks from. You can imagine this is going to be like one half, and then there's going to be another half over here, and we're going to have some like kind of tie thing to tie it back as well.
And we save a wall.
Yeah, and I put this like really thick felt material on the back, like fabric, what's it called? It is curtain fabric, it's like curtain backing fabric, so they're really heavy and they're really thick, and hopefully it will stop some of the draft coming this way.
My arms are getting tired.
If you can just stay there, that'll be good. You can choose to back your curtains if you want, which I did, partly for the extra warmth and also because the back of the curtains would be visible from the other side when the curtains were closed, so I wanted that part to look neat too. I'd actually only bought enough material for one half of the curtains because I wanted to check I could actually make a decent curtain first before buying the rest, since the fabric was pretty expensive. So after the success of this first half, it was time to make the other half. Okay, that is the first curtain of these new 2 that I'm doing, all laid out and pinned. I think the pinning and the cutting actually takes longer than the sewing itself, but you have to do it because otherwise, yeah, you just couldn't do it. We've actually chosen a different fabric for these curtains that are going to go in the office, because in the time that I bought the first set of fabric and got around to actually using it, the place I got it from didn't have that fabric in stock anymore, so I couldn't buy the second half that I needed. So that curtain that I already made is going somewhere else. We needed a curtain somewhere else anyway, so it's fine. And we've got a slightly different pattern, which I think is even nicer. It's got like little orange trees and maybe apple trees and stuff on it, so yeah, it's really nice. What are you doing there, Mal?
I'm just attaching these hooks to the I don't know, curtain rings and it's quite tough on the fingers, so I'm using my gloves.
You look like you're doing something kind of dangerous there with the glove and the pliers.
No, it's not dangerous at all, but like the tips of my fingers were wearing off, so I needed my gloves. How's it going here? How's it going here?
Hello. Great. I'm having a great time. This is like my perfect Sunday. Just trying not to sew it onto itself, which I did before and then had to unpick it. It's quite a big piece of fabric to kind of try and grapple with in a small space. Yeah. But no, it's going great. I love this. I could literally do this all day. Well, I am going to be doing it all day.
I remember my granddad worked like they had a business of sewing and doing like t-shirts and stuff like that, and like they had a massive table for working on.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, that would help.
Massive table, like bigger than a ping pong table.
I'm just making sure that the bottom of this second curtain is exactly the same height or like length off the floor as the other one, otherwise I think it'll look really bad. So it's all sewn up, the second one, apart from the bottom bit. I'm just measuring it. Una, what are you doing? You want to go through? Come in.
It's looking amazing.
Yeah?
It's what our farm should look like in the future, right? It's aspirational.
Yeah. With the curtains hung, the next job was to block the office from the other side, which leads onto the living room. For this side, I wanted something more substantial, which would also help us keep the heat in the living room when we lit the fire in there. So I decided to try and make a sliding door. But to make a door, we first needed to make a door frame, which we could actually attach the rail to. I know what you're thinking, this is no way to lay bricks, it's not going to be stable stacking them like this, but I had a plan to make it work, and that involved a lot of cement, just cementing them all in place. Since these bricks have hollows all the way through, I could also pour cement down the middle of the bricks into the hollows to kind of bind the bricks to one another. To save on cement, I filled up about half the empty space in the bricks with gravel and then just used the cement at the top and the bottom where it mattered to kind of join the bricks together. So today my main job is going to be trying to fill in the crack between the column that I'm building and the wall. Nothing in our house is straight, so if I want to make like a straight line, it means like filling in lots of gaps. Obviously, like a column is not a solid, stable structure, but when I fill in the crack between the wall and the column with cement, I think it'll be okay. It's just a little bit of an annoying job because the cement kind of falls out of the column if it's too wet or it's too heavy, so I can only do like a little part at a time. I have to wait for the cement to dry off a bit and then I can pile more on. So I'm basically doing a little mix, like a really small bucket full, shoving as much as I can in the crack before it all starts falling out again, and then I guess waiting a couple of hours until it dries off a bit, and then I'll do another mix. So I'm just going to be doing that all day. Meanwhile, I was also looking into getting a lintel to lay across the top of the two columns to form the top of the door frame. I had originally bought a cement lintel, but then one evening our amazing neighbour Miguel came round with his chainsaw and had a better idea.
Ese otro nudo y lo podemos cortar ya.
So here's the beam that I originally bought, the lintel, just a standard cement lintel. And here's the beam which Miguel brought us back the other day. He has sanded it down in his workshop and got it nice and straight. It's 7 by 9. It's longer than it needs to be, but I can cut it down. Look at this beautiful piece of wood. It's just so nice. I'm so excited to put this in the house instead of that ugly piece of cement. It's got a lovely grain on it, and I really like, where is it? There's this bit here that's kind of notched out of it. You can kind of see the original bark. I think that's really nice. When he brought it round, we were looking at where it's going to go along here, and as we started thinking about it, lots of little things came up that we realised were going to be, well, I realised were going to be a little bit more complicated than I would have thought. So things like which way round is it going to go, whether we're going to have to remove some of this like stone that's bumping out as well, or whether the lintel can just kind of go in front of the stone and sit kind of half on the brick. We've also got this slight gap along the front of the columns, more pronounced on this side because nothing is straight, so the brick starts at the bottom meeting the edge of the wall, and then the column is straight and the rest of the wall is not, so I need to fill this in. And then the question is, well, will the beam sit on the brick? Well, it can't. It needs to sit like here so that it's all level, if you know what I mean. Then we were thinking about screwing the lintel also into the ceiling to make sure that it doesn't move and just give it some extra support. I bought these screw things with the rule plugs. Miguel's got a better idea, or at least some better screws, bolts, whatever you call these things. So yeah, there's actually quite a few little details to think about once you actually start thinking about how you're going to do this. Miguel's going to come around next weekend and help me put the beam in place, which I'm really grateful for, because having never done any of these little things before and really not wanting to ruin this beautiful piece of wood, I would be a little bit nervous to do it on my own. What I'm going to try and do before then is just have the columns done. You can see I'm getting there with filling in this crack. I'm literally doing like 2 inches at a time because that's all that I can fit in before it starts falling out. I'm going to get another half brick, I think, on top of each one and just try and cover them all over and get the columns looking nice. Clear up this mess on the floor. And yeah, basically just hopefully have everything ready so that we can just put the lintel on top at the weekend. We've also got this rug which a friend gave us. They were going to chuck it out. It happens to be just the perfect size to put on the floor here under the desk so that we can cover up the cold cement floor. The plan is actually in the long term to put wooden flooring down. That's kind of our preference at the moment. We were thinking of tiles everywhere, but now we're kind of erring more towards the side of wooden flooring, but that's not a job for now. So for the minute we've got this beautiful brown rug. So I'm cutting the beam today, which is a little scary. I'm cutting it a few centimeters longer than I think it needs to be, just so that I can put it in position and just, yeah, be absolutely sure. What are you doing? I drilled loads of screws into the beam so that when I set it in the cement, the screws would be embedded in the cement and would make it a lot more secure. Miguel also prepared me some extra long pointed bolts to help us fix the beam to the ceiling to just keep it even more stable. With the lintel in place, all that was left to do was to tidy up the columns and the area around the lintel itself. I covered it in masking tape and cemented in all the gaps and then plastered around it everywhere to make it smooth and neat. Finally, the new door frame was plastered and all that was left to do was to smooth down the plaster, paint it and remove the masking tape. This new door frame had taken me so long and I was so glad it was done. And I was really happy with the end result because it actually looked kind of professional and like a real part of the house, and I couldn't believe I'd actually managed not to make a complete mess of it. The next big job was adding some heating to this room. Due to the design of the house, heat from the big stove in the living room doesn't really reach this corridor area and instead pulls cold air through this corridor from outside. So we wanted to put a separate, smaller heating source in here just for this little space. We'd originally thought about putting a little gas stove in this area, but gas isn't our first choice to use for heating in any situation, and after realising that those little stoves actually need more space and ventilation to be used safely, we decided we didn't like that idea. Once again, our neighbour Miguel came to the rescue and he gifted us a beautiful old little wood stove, which was just perfect for this size of room. So the first thing we're doing here is opening a hole in the wall. Again, Miguel helped me with this. He had the long drill bit that I needed to get through the brick. Luckily, this little square metre of wall here below the window is only 1 brick thick, unlike literally every other piece of wall in the entire house, which is 50 centimetre thick stone. So we were really lucky with the position where we wanted to place this wood stove. We got the stove in place and lit a quick fire to check the draw and decided it was fine. But obviously the pipe needs to be extended up above the height of the house. You might notice a little problem here, which is why we don't do this at this time, and we'll come back to that problem later. Meanwhile, I set to work building a little brick base to put the stove on. Inspired by the torture device I'd made previously, I used the same trick again here. I hammered some nails into a couple of pieces of wood, which I was planning to use as a little border to this little brick area, so it would stick to the cement I was going to use to set the bricks in. This is the first time lighting the fire with the new pipe. Yeah. How's it going?
It draws really hard.
It's so loud.
You can hear it. It's a proper rocket.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to make your little coffee on there?
Well,
Oh, that's so cute.
It's a waste of heat otherwise.
Yeah.
Look at it go.
It's so hot already.
Yeah.
Show the little tool that you've got for opening it.
Oh, it's not very good because the tool is good. It's a good design, but it's like you need to go really like at a very steep angle, and this doesn't allow me. So you have to like kind of go to the side and go around and push
Yeah.
it. And also I'm really scared because it's a two ring. It's a ring and like a circle inside a ring.
Yeah.
If you do it too much, like if you incline, like tip it too much, the little circle will fall.
We've done that. We've already done that
And
before.
if you do that while it's hot,
Yeah.
it's impossible to recover. And
Yeah.
then like you have an open fire. But the thing is like now, it doesn't smoke at all because it draws so much that all the smoke goes out the chimney.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to open it?
Yeah, sure.
This is like famous last words, but
Don't drop the little circle.
just too long for
Yeah.
this space.
It's an elaborate
Yeah,
process.
it's very elaborate. But also you're kind of in my way, so go this way.
I think what we need is maybe to weld these two pieces together so it's just one lid, and then drill a hole in the middle and have one of those hooks that hook it out. That's what
Yeah.
a lot of these circular stoves do. So I think we should do that. Another problem with the office space is the window. Mauro was fed up of looking like he was in jail whenever he appeared on video calls, so one weekend while he was away, I decided to give him a surprise and make the outside window area a bit more beautiful. It's very common in Spain to have these bars on the ground floor windows of buildings. I think they're horrible, but apparently it's for insurance purposes, and most companies prefer you to have them. Anyway, we didn't bother about that and decided to remove them anyway. Reassuringly, I guess, for anyone who has these metal bars on their windows, they actually took me forever to remove with the angle grinder. And here I'm wearing a raincoat and hood because I realised after the first session that my hair and clothes were full of tiny little shards of metal, which I was scared would fall off and get in my eyes or something. So I tried to wear better protection for doing this job going forward. Eventually, I was just left with these flat pieces of metal embedded in the wall, but they were easy enough to paint over. Now it was time to deal with a little problem I mentioned earlier. The stovepipe needed to come up around the left-hand side of the window and up past the height of the house, but we had a plastic downspout coming down right where the stovepipe needed to go. I decided I would reposition the drainage pipe and join it up with another one, which had the additional advantage of meaning that both pipes could feed into the same water storage container instead of having to have two.
Other way around.
At the moment we're not actually collecting the water from these pipes, but we plan to put a tall cylindrical water butt here in the future so that we can easily water this little patch of garden in front of the house. With the water pipe diverted out of the way, it was time to focus on installing the stovepipe. Once again, Miguel helped me with this because we needed to solder the additional length of pipe onto the original pipe. I needed about 3 meters of additional iron piping to bring the height of the flue up above the height of the house, and miraculously, my local builders merchants had an old piece lying around of exactly the right length, which they gave to me for about €5. We fixed it to the wall and we were done. Having already made 2 sets of curtains during this project, I really thought my curtain making days were complete, but it turned out this was not the case. So I've got this piece of fabric here which just happens to be almost the perfect size for the window. It's a little short, but I think it looks good. I'm trying to work out if it looks good or if it just looks like it's the wrong size, but I think it looks good. It's exactly the kind of colour that I wanted and the way I wanted like the light to come through. It's just to keep the glare of the sun off Mauro's laptop screen when he's working in here. So it does its job and I think I'm going to go with it. What fiddly job have I given you this time?
Oh, this is actually a good job. Making little buttons. We're gonna use them for, how do you call that part of the curtain? But yeah, like the part that of the curtain that goes around the pole,
Yeah.
just to decorate
Yeah.
that part. Yeah.
They look really good. They look really nice.
Slices of a branch.
Bearing in mind this is the only window in our house, apart from this one, if you can call it a window, I decided to really try my best to make it look as nice as possible. So the final thing I did was to tile the windowsill with these lovely chocolate brown tiles, and in the end we were both really happy with how the window ended up looking, both inside and out. And then there was just one more thing to do. The thing I'd been dreading really, because I was sure it was going to be the hardest part. I had to make and install a sliding door to separate the office from the living room, the final touch to stop the office feeling like a corridor. The reason I decided to put a sliding door here is mostly because of the awkward space we have, with the arc of the stairs complicating things on one side and it also just being a very small space to try and open a conventional door into. Plus we only have about 1.60 meters of height here and you can't buy ready-made doors that short, so trying to put a normal opening door here would have meant making the frame and the door myself, which felt like it wouldn't go that well. So a sliding door it was. A rail for a sliding door is easy to buy, and then in theory it's easy to install, so I just had to make a custom sized door to hang from it. For this I'm using floorboards, which was the cheapest kind of planks of wood I could find, and they just happened to be about the right size. The floorboards worked great and also had the advantage of slotting into each other really firmly, which made building the door a lot easier. I just had to trim them down and cut off the little lips from the edges. Good morning. Today we are going to try and hang the door. It's the last thing left to do on the office. I've been putting it off for so long because, I don't know, I just thought it would be really hard. I've got the instructions here. Somehow they survived outside all winter. It's a miracle that I actually still have them. The instructions for the rail and how to mount it. It looks a little complicated, but I think it should be possible. Anyway, we'll do our best. So the rail is supported by 5 of these little brackets which go against the wall like this, and they require a certain kind of bolt which you have to buy yourself. It didn't come included, and the best I could find that looked similar were these these bolt things with these metal, I don't know if these would technically be called rule plugs, but whatever they are, it can support up to 350 kilos, which is a lot more than the door, but the door is quite heavy, so I think using these strong ones is a good idea. So I've managed to hand this job off to Mauro and my mum because I'm too scared of drilling into the beam and making a big mistake.
Yeah,
so.
and also I had the day off from work because it's Magdalena, so God bless Magdalena. Alright, you do the pencil maybe, and I'll hold the weight. It's behind my ear. I need some coordination. It's a new team.
A new team. gotta find your groove.
Alright, I need to check if that hole is aligned. Definitely went in.
What's
But
going
I don't know if it went in. So we hit a screw, so we didn't know that.
I didn't tell you.
Yeah, we didn't know that there were some screws that they used to like for the cement to get more grip with the beam. So we hit that, and the wood drilling bit wasn't. Like was saying no, don't do this. So we can't drill a hole through the screw in the wood. So we're gonna just drill a hole right next to it on the metal bar, and hope that there isn't anything on the other side. So that's where the hole goes.
Look how nicely they fit in. That's so nice.
Don't film that one.
This one's in the wrong way around.
It wouldn't be a job made by us if something is like
Perfect.
imperfect.
Correct. Yeah. It's going in. The rail is up.
Done. So the door is too tall.
We knew this was going to be.
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. We just needed to get the whole structure of the door in order to really gauge how tall the door should be. So we made it taller on purpose. So we just drew a line where we want to cut it, and we made this improvised rail with a piece of wood so that the circular saw will go over it. The thing is, as usual, our lines are not straight. Nothing is straight. Probably this wood isn't straight. This isn't straight. So what we thought was parallel, it's not that parallel. So I think I'm gonna eyeball it.
Yeah, that's looking much better than the mess we made first of all. But
yeah, we messed that screw up.
yeah, but it's also not. It's not deep enough, so it hasn't gone through the whole.
Yeah.
Hasn't gone through the whole door, so we're gonna have to come through
flip
with
it
a.
and do it on the other side.
Can't we come through this gap with a jigsaw?
Will it be long enough?
Yeah, the jigsaw's long enough.
Oh!
Is it going on? What? No way! It's not getting caught anywhere?
Ish.
It sounds like it's getting caught a little bit somewhere, but it's not too bad.
It hits there.
Well, we knew it was gonna hit down here, but at some point
We could cut it.
we'll do the floor and we'll have to cut it some more because the floor will come up. There's a little hump here. Bump. Bump. I don't know what that is.
There's a hump. I think erosion will take care of that. Bye. So this is it. This is my office. It's great. I can't believe everything is in here. I've been using it for a while, so I'm used to it, and it's nice to be here. But it's nice to start putting all the nice decoration. The wall is also gonna help keep the dogs out, and also the wood looks really nice. It just gives like a different color shade, and it's just the way I want it. It just has enough organization, which is important for me, for my OCD. Has all my electronics for work and for play. It really has everything. I'm really happy, really grateful to Harriet. Yeah. Can I point out some of my favorite details?
Yeah?
Yeah. One of them is one of the few things that I made just on my own, which is those little
The little
improvised buttons that I
buttons.
sliced from a tree branch. I really like that these holders for the shelves have this little hook that I use here for some stuff or here for my headphones. That's really unexpected and very practical. I like having all my books there. A lot of people have their books as their background so that other people look at them, but I much rather be me who looks at my books, and I don't
Yeah,
care about other
yeah.
people seeing my books. The table we bought from some friends, and I'm really grateful they sold it to us because it's really nice. It's just the right size. This mat, having a desk mat, is just the best thing ever. It's just adds a different texture, and it's just easier to clean, and it's just really practical. And in terms of things left to do, I think I would like to make a hole here on the wall to bring the internet router so that I can plug my computer with an Ethernet cable instead of with Wi-Fi, and that will make it a bit better. Improve the stove area.
So we haven't sealed the wall here because the stove is very efficient. We want to probably take the pipe out and try and put a baffle in. So we haven't cemented it in and sealed it in here yet, just for that reason.
Yeah, it just draws too hard, and we needed to draw a bit less.
Yeah.
And I would also like to hang my guitar from this wall, so maybe have a handmade holder here and just have it hanging. But yeah, I'm really happy. We're really happy. Harriet's proud of all the work she's done. I'm really proud of her, and I'm happy that it's really comfortable. And I'm happy that if I have to spend all my day here, it's in this office. But yeah, thank you so much, Harriet.